I mean, every year we change up the theme. You got any ideas? What can be our next? We demolish this set. We do a new one. What should we do? We want to do more of a laid back.
Yeah, we you know, like what you're talking about, Andrew Schultz's set, where it's like it's couches, a little bit more chill. Because this is quiet. You got to sit upright. I'm always thinking about my posture up here.
I do quite like this. Maybe you have something like this the first time a guest's on, but then the second phase of it, they go to more sat down, more relaxed.
We just need to take the whole room so we can actually change set.
Move across.
So we actually keep this one, but then... move one of the sets back.
Phase 1 is sober, sat upright with an energy drink. Phase 2 is sat down with alcohol. Phase 3, you bring in the mushrooms.
And we just do, we do like a filthy like tribute. Have you ever done
there's a market for that, by the way.
DMT?
Yes.
Podcast.
What was that like?
So
have we ever had somebody that's done
No,
DMT?
we haven't.
No, we always ask though, don't we?
So I got wasted at a house party. This a few years ago when I was younger. You know, cool, my mum and dad are gonna... Anyway.
Yeah.
And all I remember is smoking it in like a blunt, and like everyone that I was looking at like kind of looked like they were turned to plastic. And I don't remember any of it. And the next day I was bummed because I was like, fuck, I smoked DMT last night, don't remember it. I spoke about it on a podcast, and I was in a bar on a night out, and a guy comes up to me, he's like, you need it in a vape. So I was like, okay. He's like, give me your Insta, message me. And the guy came and delivered it to me on roller skates in Bondi. I was like,
no. Of course he fucking did.
And apparently he wasn't a dealer, he was just getting it for me. I was like, cool. Then he showed me how the vape worked and stuff. Like random guy I met in a bar, I was like, come in. And I could sense he might want to do it with me. So I was like, all right, get out you get. So I got my noise cancelling headphones. I went out onto the balcony and I put on London Grammar, Hey Now.
Yeah.
And I put it on and I hit it like pretty hard, like 3-4 times in the vape, closed my eyes, and I had the wildest like 4-minute trip, just sat there, but I felt safe, I felt comfortable. And as I came out, my first epiphany was, do people like who you are or what you do?
Shit, man.
And that took me a long time to think about. I was like, if I didn't do what I do, would people like me for who I am? And I couldn't shake it. Like for months, I was like, interesting. But then I kind of came to terms with, it's okay for people to like you for what you do, not who you are.
Right.
So that was a wild one. So then I was like, okay, I need more answers. The next time I went in...
Belled up Mr. Roller Skates. Come back, mate.
This vape lasts for ages. I think I spent maybe like £100 on it. But then another time I got all my mates around and I sat there, we were all just sipping a few beers, and I would take them outside to the balcony, give them the headphones, say, here's your vape, come in when you're ready. And people would come in all with different epiphanies. Like one guy would come in and go, it's 5 minutes, one song was the trip. And he'd come in.
I thought in my head it was like a...
Does it feel like 5 minutes though?
I thought it was
feel
more
like ages?
Feels like hours.
That's what scares me about it. You get
like a meth trip.
It's about 5 minutes. One night I went for a hero dose and it was about 7 minutes. It was 2 songs, but like I felt really safe doing it. But the craziest thing is, where I've done mushrooms and LSD, doing DMT made me slightly agnostic. Whereas I've never believed in a God. This last trip, I was like, I still don't believe in a God, but there's something.
Yeah.
Because I went through the dimensions of the universe, and I was going through space and time. And then the second trip I did, I felt what can only be explained as the periodic table of emotions, from the highest highs to the lowest lows, to the anxiety, to the nothing matters in life. And then as I came out of the trip kind of said to me, the reason you don't experience extreme sadness is because the way you live your life, you're sensible, you make right decisions, you're respectful to people. But then at one point it said, the reason you don't experience the extreme highs is because you don't let anyone in. You haven't got a girlfriend. You're too worried about getting hurt and being vulnerable.
Interesting.
So I came out and I was like, fuck, I was like, I need to try and find like a serious relationship. So every time I did it, it was like a truly net beneficial response. A lot of people listening, like, again, not endorsing that people do this or whatever, although I do make it sound pretty good. But all of these trips to me, like my last mushroom trip convinced me to want to have kids. I sat there on the beach for like 2 hours thinking about how many people have had children and survived this like massive line of lineage for hundreds of thousands of years for you to get to this point and go, nah.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
You know, like,
yeah.
Like,
who the fuck are you to say you don't?
This bloodline's finished.
Yeah, people.
I'm finishing this shit now.
Like, imagine in Scotland, it's fucking freezing, right? Imagine the layers they had to wear for 365 days a year, washing their arsehole in a river, like all of this stuff. Like,
Is that what you lot do?
What the fuck?
and they're there with the baby, and they're like, "You're gonna live. We're gonna give you," and then you cherish it all the way to the age that then that child can have kids, and then all of this for hundreds of thousands of years. Now people get to the point going, nah, don't really want kids. And like for me now, that last mushroom trip, I was like, it's so important I continue the lineage.
Yeah.
But like all of these trails of thought, they must have been in my mind before, but it helped me unlock them. So the DMT one's really interesting where I've done therapy and DMT was better for me.
Really? So did you, this is all just, again, I've never done it. Is it people, when they've described it, I mean, I listened to quite a bit of Joe Rogan as well, and he went through a phase of fucking talking about it all the time. But he said it, or maybe not him, but from what I listened to, it's like an outer body experience. Is that what it's like?
It was like I closed my eyes, and although I could still feel I was in my body, I was going through like space and time in the universe. It's crazy.
Right.
But the best thing about it, kind of the caveat to all of it is, since the last few times I did DMT and mushrooms, I'm now in a position where I always felt that when I started hitting the vape or eating the mushrooms or whatever, I was wanting answers to questions I hadn't thought of yet.
Interesting.
So that's how I'd explain psychedelics. If you need answers to questions you don't know yet, that's where to go. But the last 2-3 years of my life, I actually don't need any answers. So with DMT, I ended up giving the vape to my friend. I was like, I'm done. I was like, I've actually got everything I need from this, and I haven't touched it in years. Like,
could you see people almost getting like addicted to
not really
to that, or not really?
And again, I'm not saying this from like a place
from your personal,
from my personal opinion. No, it was like it's not moreish. Like with the beer, you have one, you're like, but like with everything else, it's kind of like no one does a tab of LSD and like in the end of the evening, let's do another one. And if they do, like maybe maybe this ain't for you then.
That's a crazy times, man.
So like, yeah, for me, it's crazy. It was an immature experience that helped me mature.
Yeah.
And like when I look back to some of my best decisions in life, it's crazy. It's come from things that have altered my state of reality, where like the first time you take these things, you're like, why are we conditioned to drink alcohol our whole lives? That just makes me an idiot. The first time I took MDMA and went to festivals, my friends were like, you're so much nicer. When I found out I was an arsehole when I drank. They're like, you'd be getting us in a headlock at this time. You know, or you'd be barging into people because you're drunk. Now you're there. I remember being at We Are once, and like, as I was coming up on MD, I just suddenly was worried that everyone didn't have enough water. There was a couple next to us, not even my friends.
You need water?
You know when they like have the bottle of water and there's nothing in it?
Yeah.
So I have one of mine.
No, that's nice, though, man. That's wholesome.
Yeah. That's what happens though when you're on it.
Yeah.
So
Allegedly.
people.
Yeah, allegedly. You got to take that one with you. Take that home. Is all you've got to say.
But you one of the things that I saw when you were doing your through Instagram is you talk a lot about confidence as well. And because you go around and you do talks as well, like public speaking and things like that. And I think at least confidence, I mean, we briefly spoke on it when we were talking about that video that I did with one model versus 100 virgins. And a lot of guys that I've noticed really struggle with just confident speaking to people, going up to new people. And I would say I was probably one of those guys until I started becoming successful in my own right.
Gold play button.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? When that first thing, to be fair, even then it was a little bit like, FIFA videos didn't quite do it for my confidence. But with age came a lot of confidence and just being totally cool with who I was. But it'd be great to hear from somebody that almost like talks and speaks to other people about how to be confident. Because I know there's definitely a lot of people listening, watching that, you know, they're happy with their life, but they would certainly prefer to be more confident. And I think being confident is probably one of the best attributes anybody can possess.
I'll give 3 bits of advice. The first one would be relating to fitness. Like if you lads came to the gym, I wouldn't try and get you to do something you couldn't. I would find out what you could do. So let's say you're like, I can bench 75 kg. Cool. You're not there crying that you can't do 100. And if I got you to do 100, you'd be like, this is stupid. But from 75, we then work hard to get you to 80, to then to 85, then to 90. And in time, we get to that point that you want. But then in the world of like, let's say confidence, you got a mate who's like, oh, I'm petrified to go chat to a bird. You're like, okay, could you go over and say hello? Could you smile? Could you just go over and just say, oh, I like what you're wearing. Mm-hmm. Cool. Now, if you can break it down to the point of finding out what they can accomplish, you should get them to do that. Because if they do enough reps at that, soon the next thing, okay, say hello, then a compliment. Cool. Next, say hello, compliment, then drop a cheesy joke. Or, you know, ask them where they're from, or ask them their name. Yeah, you build it. It's progressive overload. This is the main concept of fitness. So number 1 is about appreciating what you can do now and just work from there.